It's Kevin Keatsman Uncanceled on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on another winning day in the United States of America. I'm your host, Kevin Keatsman, and we've got quite a show lined up for you today. We're expecting the President of the United States in about 30 minutes to step up to the microphone and discuss a giant win in the Supreme Court today. For the Trump administration, more than anything else, it is, of course, a win for America. But for the Trump administration, it happens on a day, are you ready for this, where the S&P 500 has a record high, the NASDAQ hits a record high, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average is 1,500 points higher than 2 days before the election, which is when I think the polling started to switch and people in Wall Street are like, uh-oh, looks like Trump's going to win. And that's when the market did its thing. We had the tariff drop-off. That's all been withered away. The Dow Jones even is up 1,500 points from where it was when Trump was elected. It's winning everywhere, and we got a lot of other big important stories today, and I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to get deep into this thing. We'll wait to hear what the president says, but I'll read you the post that he just put on Truth Social. Donald J. Trump, giant win in the United States Supreme Court. Even the birthright citizenship hoax has been indirectly hit hard. It had to do with the babies of slaves the same year, not the scamming of our immigration process. Congratulations to Attorney General Pam Bondi, Solicitor General John Sauer, and the entire Department of Justice. News conference at the White House, 10:30 Kansas City time. So that's Trump. Now, this isn't a ruling on birthright citizenship as much as it's a legal ruling, and they weren't sure that the session was ending here for the Supreme Court. They weren't sure they were going to rule on this, but I think they found this to be so important for a president to either have the authority to implement what they were elected by the will of the people to do or not have the authority to do that. These are more about presidential powers than anything else. What's been happening with Donald Trump at lower levels across the country is judges have been stopping everything he's been doing. There are 700 of these judges nationwide. That's an easy number to remember. There's about 700 of them. And what the Supreme Court has ruled today is these 700 judges have no authority to give a ruling to stop the president of the United States, that somebody needs to bring forth a case, and a case needs to be ruled upon, and then it can be appealed, and it may work its way up to the Supreme Court, but a judge just can't arbitrarily walk in and, say you can't send Abrego Garcia or whatever, Kilmore, to El Salvador and just make rulings that is not constitutional. So that doesn't seem like a hard thing for the Supreme Court to rule on to me. I think we all watched these judges do things that we were appalled and haven't seen in the past. We know the number of times that Trump has been sued or attempted to stop or had a ruling compared to other presidents, and it's just off the charts. And they've clearly activated the judges in this country, the leftist judges, to try to stop this president, and the Supreme Court has said that's not going to fly, that somebody has to bring a case, there needs to be a trial, and a decision from that case. And if they want to appeal the decision, it could work. It could go into effect and work its way up to the appellate court and eventually on its way to the Supreme Court. That's the way it works in this country. And the Supreme Court says judges cannot just arbitrarily rule against the president and stop him from doing the business of the people. The case was brought to the Supreme Court as a birthright citizenship case, as the test case. But there is no actual ruling here on birthright citizenship. That is the one they used to show when Trump gave an order about birthright citizenship. You can't stop him by just having a judge rule some sort of an injunction. So what Trump stated with the birthright citizenship, it is believed now, is in effect. What he's doing, until somebody can legally stop it, it's in effect. That's where it is. So that is a big ruling, and that takes handcuffs off Donald Trump, basically, to implement a lot of the things that he's wanting to do that they're trying to stop him from doing. We will take the news conference live if it starts during Uncanceled. If not, it will be on during the Vince show. He does a good job of putting that on as well. Or Mark will be here for you, at least his initial comments. We'll play at least his initial comments in reaction to this. You better believe Trump is going to thump his chest on a win like this in the Supreme Court, because it's just been one legal battle after another for this guy. From, the long limo parade through Atlanta to the Fulton County Correctional Facility to get his mugshot taken, to the courtroom of New York, where they hit him on, bogus charges of what, fraudulent loan or something that he paid off. That literally the defendant was the bank, and they provided a letter to the court that says, we're happy with this guy. We'd love him to be our customer again. He paid everything off. Nothing wrong happened here. To the crazy lady that says he groped her or whatever in a dressing room in a department store, it's just been one thing after another with Donald Trump. And when he wins, he should celebrate. And I love that and respect that about the man. Too many people in the world and too many people in sports, which is the world I come from, don't savor the victories enough. They don't celebrate the wins as much as the losses just crush them. Trump is the opposite. He's the opposite person. He will gloat and smile and thump his chest when he wins. And when he loses, he just goes, nah, okay, I'm going to come back, circle back and beat you. That's what he does. There is no loss for Trump. It doesn't happen. I mean, they didn't let him be president in 2020. What'd he do? He circled back and he kicked their butts. And he's driving them even crazier now. The guy doesn't lose. When he does, he doesn't give up. I mean, he never accepts a loss. There's a lesson to be learned there. I hope young people are watching this president and learn that. That go win, and when you win, be proud of yourself and let people know you won. It's okay. It's not boasting if it's true. Just say it. We won in the Supreme Court because we're right. The Republicans, conservatives, America First people, populists, libertarians, you're going to win a lot in the Supreme Court because we understand what America is, what the laws are. We like to follow them. And so there will be a lot of wins as these things get challenged and they go up. That's pretty cool. So we'll have more from Donald Trump probably coming up in a few minutes. I did want to start the show today with a couple of comments that falls under the headline of, is this the chicken or is this the egg? We had what I thought was the biggest news yesterday about the stadium issue that we've had in quite some time. Because, for whatever reason, Ty Masterson decided yesterday, the Kansas Senate president, that he was going to go public, that they're going to extend the star bonds, and instead of the insane, irate criticism that I was giving him and all the other clowns in Kansas yesterday right here on Uncanceled, blasted them pretty good, let them have it, because they're looking like fools. Instead of that happening, he just decided, I'm going to go ahead and publish the letter I got from Chiefs President Mark Donovan and let everyone see it and judge for themselves. So he gave them cover for what it is that they're doing. The letter was just enough for Mark Donovan to give cover to the politicians in Kansas to extend the star bonds. And it changes my mind a little bit. I can see where he's coming from. I think I still would have put the hammer on Donovan and said, you've got a week. Let's get this figured out. Or, okay, I got your letter. Send one back. Let's have an exclusive 15-day negotiating period. Let's get this done, or this thing's going away, and we're not going to retroactivate the star bonds, something like that. And maybe they will. But I say chicken or egg because if Pete Mundo doesn't come on yesterday and tell everyone in Kansas and Missouri that the star bonds are going to be extended, which he did at the start of his show yesterday morning and talked about throughout his show, which led me to my comments at the start of my show, and I don't think very many politicians in Kansas were very happy with my comments. It might have been a tag team effort here, but if Pete doesn't do that story yesterday, does this even happen? And here's why media are so important and why media become a theme so often on this show, and I know it resonates with you, our listeners. When the media are working specifically towards something with an agenda, they can affect things to what they want to have happen. I think we're pretty clear here, Pete, myself, everybody at the station, we don't really care where these teams wind up. We're all a little worn out by this story. We think the teams and the politicians look like clowns at this point, and we just want to know. But people don't mistake that for people caring. People really want to know what these teams are going to do. They want to know what Kansas City looks like for sports in the next 50 years. That's a very important topic. But there's not a whole lot of people sitting on the edge of the seat rooting for one thing over another. If they are, generally speaking, they have a business interest in that. And I don't want to speak for Pete or John or Mark, but I don't think any of us have a business interest in this other than we like having the teams here. We want them to stay in Kansas City, and we don't really have a dog in this fight. But when they outed Mark Donovan from his letter yesterday, which I wonder what the reaction would be from the Chiefs. If Mark Donovan were on right now doing an interview, the first thing I'd ask was, are you okay with them publishing your letter that you thought was private? And I think it was great. I will applaud lawmakers in Kansas for doing this. I think we need more of this, and I think we need more media. If in any small way KCMO led this to happen yesterday, and I personally believe it did. Okay, I believe that. I've done this long enough and been around enough stories and watched people react. You don't go months and months and months without knowing anything, and all of a sudden the president of the Senate says, yes, we're going to extend the star bonds, and oh, by the way, here's the letter from Mark Donovan for everyone to read. That is transparency. That's us not trying to affect the story, but it's trying to help you find out what's going on. And that's completely different than having some agenda here. Like if I was beating a drum every day trying to get the Royals downtown or beating a drum trying to get the Chiefs to build a new stadium or whatever. No, this is different. This is shining light where there is darkness, which is the fundamental rule of journalism. We want the public to know. Donald Trump has created a new environment in this country. He has said loud and clear to 330 million Americans, you can handle the truth. I'm going to tell you what's going on, and you can handle it. Now, not super top secret things about how the bombs work and things like that, but here it is. Here's how the mission worked. Here's what we did. They put it out there for you. In almost everything that's going on in this country now, there's just a lot of truth-telling. There's a lot of transparency. I've said it a million times. People who talk about being transparent are never transparent. They're not, when you hear politicians say, we're going to be the most transparent mayor that you've ever had. No. He's letting you know right now that he's going to filter stuff from you. Kansas City, Missouri, I'll use it as an example. Quentin Lucas uses that line a lot. He talks about transparency a lot. What did they do? Well, they got sued by their communications director who won nearly $1 million because they were telling him to not be transparent. They were literally ordering their comms director to not be transparent with the people. And when he lost his job, he sued him and won $1 million. So be wary of somebody who talks about how transparent they are. Have you ever heard Donald Trump go off and say, I'm the most transparent president? He doesn't really do that. He just comes out and says everything. And we got some of that from Kansas yesterday. And that's winning. That's good for you. That's good for voters. That's good for citizens in our area. It's good for every Royals and Chiefs fan. And the fact that Mark Donovan is outed here, and basically this letter outlines everything they want to do. From a dome stadium to new team headquarters, a state-of-the-art practice facility, a vibrant mixed-use entertainment district, all of these things. We're talking about billions. He states in the letter this will be the biggest project in the history of Kansas. And you can't afford not to woo us over and allow us. This is crossing T's and dotting I's. I know what they're wanting. They're wanting things at the local level. They're wanting some property tax relief in Wyandotte County or things like that. That's what they want in addition to the 70%. And Donovan's saying we're close. And Ty Masterson said in his letter that we have reached the red zone, which is inside the 20-yard line, and we're about to score with the Kansas City Chiefs. It definitely led you to believe that the Chiefs want to go to Kansas, but I'll warn you right now. The Chiefs are ruthless. To me, the letter doesn't guarantee anything. It definitely looks like they want to go to Kansas, and this is what they want to do when you read it. But that's not the game they play. You don't know. They're playing both sides, but now we've got one out in the public. I challenge people in Missouri to start revealing correspondence with the Chiefs and publish that. We would love to contrast it. Missouri, you're on the clock. Put some Mark Donovan letters out there. Let's stop the madness. Let's stop the stupidity here. Let's let the people see what the hell's going on. Let's let everybody see what the teams are up to, and we'll all be better for it. 913-408-7957. That's 408-7957. Uncanceled continues on KCMO Talk Radio. Hey, thanks for giving us a listen today. We really appreciate it. If you'd like to join the show, you're always welcome at 913-408-7957. We go to the phones, and Wes in Gladstone is up first today. Wes, I was in Gladstone yesterday. How are you, sir?
All right. I felt an chill in the area today.
I was in the city of Oakview, which is not.
Oh, you were at the fireworks stand.
That's exactly where I was. We were giving away T-shirts at the Pyro City up there, which is the owners are really savvy. They figured out about a year ago that if they built that place, it's in Oakview, not Gladstone, where you can't have a fireworks store. And there's just this little pocket in the middle of Gladstone where you can do it, and they're loving life up there, man.
American capitalism.
Yes.
You got to love it, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. So how were the Democrats going to stop Trump? The district judges. Well, now that's being slapped down. Now I believe they've got this Senate parliamentarian trying to do their dirty work for him. And I wish John Thune would stand up and fire her or override her or something, because it's no different than what these judges were trying to do. As far as the Chiefs and the Royals go, tell me what you think about this idea. They both go to the Legends, and they both jointly develop this vibrant multi-use entertainment district between the two stadiums.
I would say that is the least likely thing to happen because they don't like being with each other the way it is.
Well, but I mean, the stadiums would be apart from each other. It would save them each a few bucks.
I understand your vision. They see each other as competitors. Okay, this would be like Home Depot and Lowe's opening next door to each other. That's how they view each other. That they're competing.
Well, they could be across the street from each other.
Well, there's a certain number of dollars that people will spend on sporting events and going out. Okay, and if you're both in the same place, you're asking them to make a choice to go to a certain place. Now, if you are, north of the river or something, and the Royals build their own district down there, and we got, then you can make different choices and however you spend. But if you're in the same place, I think they largely just see this as competing. I could be wrong, but listen, I've said all along, and I'm not rooting for it. If you're asking what I would like to see happen, I like the north of the river site for the Royals, and I like the Legends for the Chiefs. I like new stadiums for both. I think the sports complex was unbelievable. I don't think much of 1970s stadium architecture. There's really nothing left from the 70s anywhere in America except those two stadiums. It was the worst time ever to build stadiums. There wasn't much creativity. They're not particularly functional. They wasted money by building two stadiums instead of one, I guess, because at the time that's what everybody else was building. But I just would love to have new ballparks for both. That's just me. I just prefer new over renovating something that's just kind of antiquated.
Well, they can come north of the river if you pay the taxes.
Okay. Well, I think the people who go spend money would pay the taxes, right? It would be a sales tax.
Always good to listen to you guys,
All
man.
right.
You keep rocking.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. If they do it, it would be a sales tax. I don't think anybody's talked about anything other than a sales tax. The question would be, is it county-wide in Clay County, or would it just be in the area there? Would it be an additional tax in the area where the Royals would be or where the Chiefs would be? So, these are the things to debate over these issues. But most of these, at this point, everything that's on the table is not a new tax for anybody. It's a user tax. It's if you want to go to a game or you want to go to dinner or you want to do something in those areas, you're going to pay sales tax no matter what. So what do you care where it goes? If it is in Kansas, the sales tax that you're going to be paying regardless either goes to Topeka, or the people in Topeka have decided we don't need this new sales tax yet. We'll pay off the stadium with that first, then we'll collect the sales tax and keep it. Or in Missouri, you're trying to save something you already have. It currently goes to Jeff City, and they're saying we're either going to lose it to Kansas. Missouri's the loser here no matter what. They've lost the sales tax revenue in Missouri. Okay, it's no longer going to go to Jeff City. They've already lost. It's not coming to Jeff City no matter what. It's either going to go to the teams or it's going to go to Kansas. So Jeff City's the only loser in this thing so far. And as we've said from the start, the Chiefs and Royals will win. They will both get great deals. They will, I think they've got a chance to be record-setting deals if they play this right as a percentage of what other teams have gotten around the country in their leagues. And they'll look back and go, wow, they got the best possible deals of anybody anywhere. And the longer this thing goes on, the better it seems like the deal's going to get for each one of them. The teams will win. But Kansas City, I don't hear people complaining about the new airport anymore. It was like, we got to keep the old airport. We like it. It's so convenient and easy. I don't hear that anymore. New's good. We make new things better. It's true. We've made improvements. A new Royal Stadium and a new Chiefs Stadium would be better than the old ones. I can promise you that. All right, Uncanceled continues. We're going to monitor this Donald Trump press conference and see if he takes the podium here very shortly from the White House. That's next on Uncanceled. Big win for President Trump today. The Supreme Court delivered a major victory in President Trump's quest to block lower courts from issuing universal injunctions that had been used against him on executive orders and actions. It was ruled 6-3 by the Supreme Court. I just don't know. I hate the fact, we get so mad at people that are judges or people that are appointed by conservatives and say, well, they're not dyed in the wool always for what the person on the right wants to do. Boy, the Democrats stick together. These three women on this court, unbelievable. Why would this, if you're a Supreme Court justice, you've made it all the way there, what on earth do you think in the Constitution says that a lower court judge has the right to rule an injunction to stop the president of the United States? There's 700 of these judges. So you think that when we wrote our Constitution and put this system together, that it was laid out for 700 judges in faraway places at any whim that they want, with no case brought before them, to just order an injunction in their courtroom and stop the president of the United States from doing his job? How can you even call yourself a Supreme Court justice if you can't be more honest than that? This was the one where they should have stepped up and it should have been 9-0 because they knew they were going to lose. the justices on the court that are liberal were going to lose, this would have been a really good time to show people, look, we can be unbiased. The funny thing is, if you ask any one of those 9 judges on the Supreme Court, should you individually be allowed at any point to just step forward and have an injunction and stop the president from doing something, they'd all say, hell no, I don't have the right to do that. Oh, you're on the Supreme Court and you don't have the right to do that. There's not a single one of them that would say they have the right to do that. But we're going to let 700 clowns around the country have the right to do this? It's just unbelievable. We're monitoring the White House. Trump's never really on time for the start of these things. If it starts, we will get you there and hear his comments. It's a big deal. It's also a big deal when I hear area politicians say something so outrageous they have to be called out on it. And I present to you on this Friday Representative Emanuel Cleaver from the great state of Missouri on a podcast or an interview with KCUR about the big, beautiful bill. He hates the big, beautiful bill because on the left, they're trying to paint Trump as an ogre that is ending Medicaid. He's taking away Medicaid. There's not going to be any Medicaid. And that's not true. What they're doing is they're cutting waste and fraud. And they're saying if you're under the age of 64 and you're healthy, you need to work. And here's how much you have to work. This is all you have to do. You got to work 20 hours a week. That's it. We're just telling you got to go work 20 hours a week if you're healthy. That's the entire thing. It's going to affect 8 to 16 million people, they say, that maybe lose free Medicaid coverage. These are people that can work. These are people that can work and choose not to and just suck stuff off the government dime. Well, you may famously remember Bill Clinton changed the name of welfare to workfare. He said, you got to get a job. He said, you got to go work for a living. We can't just support everybody. It can't just be socialist. Well, that's what this is. You're eliminating waste and fraud from Medicaid that can save hundreds of billions of dollars a year if this is implemented from the big, beautiful bill. So what does Emanuel Cleaver do? It's not enough because they can't win the merits of the argument. If you sat down with Emanuel Cleaver, and he should know a lot more about this bill than I do, but I can explain to him that it's a 20-hour requirement. It also is the SNAP things, the food stamps. You know, if you're able-bodied, sorry, you're not getting these gifts anymore. They're pulling them from you. So Emanuel Cleaver looks at this and says it's deadly what Trump is doing. And he was asked, what do you mean it was deadly? And where do you get this number? This is an unbelievable number. Emanuel Cleaver says 51,000 people, we believe, will die from these cuts. What? Is anybody going to hold him accountable for that outrageous statement? I'm pretty sure the war in Iran, the bombing, the Supreme Court ruling, the riots in L.A., I'm pretty sure every news story in America would come to a stop if it were true this bill passes, 51,000 people are going to die. I would love to hear this guy, Musty Moo Moo, explain to me how 51,000 people are going to die if this bill passes. And since it's likely to pass at some point in the next few weeks, we hope, I want him to keep track of them. I think we should hold him accountable. Please chronicle for us every American citizen that dies because this passed. I want to see that. I want to see who falls under that category because last I checked, hospitals can't turn you away. Emergency rooms can't turn you away. Everywhere illegals go, they get health care. And they're on this thing, and we want to pull the plug on that too, the illegals. Seriously, how can you take Emanuel Cleaver seriously on any issue or topic when he speaks if he literally says that he's being told, they've done a study, they've very quickly done a study here. It's not 50,000, it's not 55,000, it's not 75,000, it's 51,000 people will die. 51,000. I'm like, well, how do you know it's not 51,312 people are going to die? 51,000 people are going to die if the big, beautiful bill passes. Now, I've heard the Democrats say outrageous things before, but Emanuel Cleaver, that absolutely, positively takes the cake. It has been a big week on the Supreme Court, as earlier in the week, they ruled in favor of South Carolina. South Carolina wants to block Medicaid funding. How Medicaid works is it's federal money. It goes to the states, and then they issue it out in their state. And South Carolina says, we're no longer going to issue any Medicaid money to Planned Parenthood. We're tired of giving them money. We're not going to do that. And the Supreme Court ruled that South Carolina, as a state, absolutely has that right. Here's the crazy part. You know what this is about? It's about abortion. They don't want to give money to Planned Parenthood because it's an abortion center. That's what Planned Parenthood is. That's their main function. Most people who think of Planned Parenthood, they think, oh, I can go there and get an abortion. So they don't want to fund it in South Carolina. And the Supreme Court said you don't have to fund it. Here's the little bit you didn't know. Did you know there's a federal law on the books? And it didn't really apply to this case because there were, Planned Parenthood's defending itself saying, well, we receive these funds, but it doesn't go to abortions. It goes to counseling and these other programs, whatever. There's a federal law that prohibits any Medicaid money ever being paid for an abortion. It is against the law at the federal level. So, again, these court cases look like layups to me for the Supreme Court. We've got some common sense taking place and things coming back in this country that we didn't anticipate. That seems easy. I think the state has the right to say which organizations receive funding from the Medicaid that they get from the federal government. South Carolina said, Planned Parenthood, you're done. What's going to happen in all these states to Planned Parenthood? Are they just going to fold shop? Is some billionaire going to come in and keep funding them? What's going to happen to Planned Parenthood? Because they're really in the crosshairs. You think NPR and PBS and Voice of America are in the crosshairs of being cut with federal funding? Look at Planned Parenthood. There's just no reason for our federal government to be giving any money to Planned Parenthood. None. Or to public radio or public broadcasting, public television or Voice of America. There's just never been a reason for any of this stuff. They've just taken our money, continued to raise our taxes, and spent it on things that we don't want, that we don't care about. Public television and radio sell advertising just like Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio. Then they have radio and telethons where they beg you for money and you get a tax write-off if you donate. Wish we could do that here. Can we start a Mark and Pete's Kids College Funds with a radiothon? It's tax deductible. Send us $100. You get a tax break on this to send it in and send Mark and Pete's kids to college. Can we do that?
Let's do it. Let's go.
Right. They don't allow us to do that. But public radio can. So they get money from the government. They get money from advertisers. And they get money, tax deductible money, from people just donating, thinking that they're a charity doing the Lord's work somehow. It's absolutely remarkable, the things that we see with our federal government. God bless the Democrats that they got so many of these things so far. They're remarkable that they've been able to do that. All right, let's go back to the phones. We got Doc in Greenwood. I saw and met a lady from Greenwood yesterday. She drove all the way up into the Gladstone area to see us at our T-shirt drop. Doc, how are you today? Love all the folks in Greenwood.
Yes, sir. I'm doing well. Hey, I know you've been in the sports arena here in Kansas City for a long time. Couple of questions. Number one, why? And I'm not a business guy in terms of sports business, but can there not be a use tax per ticket in regarding Royals and Chiefs tickets to pay for these stadiums?
It's exactly what this is. That's exactly what this is.
It is. Okay.
Well, it's the sales tax, and it gets applied to paying for the stadium.
Okay.
So what's the sales tax in Kansas? 6% or something like that? What is it?
Yeah.
So let's I don't know the number. Let's just say it's 5 because there's municipal. When I buy something now, the tax is almost 10%, but a lot of that's city and county, and there's all kinds of things involved in there. But that means if you buy a $100 ticket and the sales tax in Kansas is 6%, $6 goes to the stadium.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't understand that.
What the teams have never liked is a user tax on the ticket price. They hate the added fees. They think it annoys customers. But everybody's used to a sales tax. So that's why this is such an easy deal. It doesn't require a vote. And if you don't go to a game or buy a beer or visit any of the area around there, you're never going to pay any of it, ever.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I just what's your opinion about? I mean, is this season for the Royals is looking kind of dismal?
It's bad.
Do you think that's going to hurt them going forward?
I don't think the Royals are going to even try to put anything on a ballot and vote for it because I don't think they're going to be able to pass a vote anywhere. They've got an offer in Kansas for 70% of a new stadium. No major league team has had that. They've got an offer that nobody's ever had. They can take it or leave it. If they want to stay in Missouri, make it work. I think they want to stay in Missouri, but they got to find a way to make that work. So they've got all the money they need to build their new stadium. They just need to make a decision and do it. And as far as this baseball season, they've lost, is it 11 in a row now? 10 or 11 in a row they've lost at home. They're terrible.
I agree.
All right,
they haven't won a game. They have not won a home game in the month of June.
Oh, I know. The Savannah Bananas have won as many games since May 23rd as the Royals at Kauffman Stadium. They've each won 2. So here's the deal, Doc. We're all looking at this going, well, they're only 3.5 games out of a wild card. We're looking at this wrong. There's only 3 teams in the American League with a worse record than the Royals. That's the way to look at it. You can't look at it like, oh, we could pass these other 7 teams and make a wild card. No, there's only 3 teams that stink worse. The Royals can't hit. The Dodgers are in town. The best team in baseball is here this weekend. I mean, odds are if the Royals have a good weekend, they'll win one of the 3. Shohei Ohtani's pitching tomorrow. I just don't like any of this. No, it's time for the Royals to trade off whatever tradable parts they have of veteran players and build a better team for the future. They've overdone it with the pitching. The Royals went out and got great pitching, and I thank you for your call. You're an excellent caller. I'll talk sports with you all day. They did an excellent job of going out and getting a lot of pitching, but they've done nothing to get any hitting. And it's really bit him in the butt. Okay, President Trump is speaking at the White House. He has just started about the Supreme Court ruling today that up to 700 judges, lower-level judges nationwide, cannot rule with injunctions to stop the President of the United States from implementing his orders of business. And let's go straight to the White House.
And some of the cases we're talking about would be ending birthright citizenship, which now comes to the fore. That was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for people trying to scam the system and come into the country on a vacation. This was, in fact, it was the same date, the exact same date, the end of the Civil War. It was meant for the babies of slaves, and it's so clean and so obvious. But this lets us go there and finally win that case because hundreds of thousands of people are pouring into our country under birthright citizenship, and it wasn't meant for that reason. It was meant for the babies of slaves. So thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with these numerous policies and those that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis, including birthright citizenship, ending sanctuary city funding, suspending refugee resettlement, freezing unnecessary funding, stopping federal taxpayers from paying for transgender surgeries, and numerous other priorities of the American people. We have so many of them. I have a whole list. I'm not going to bore you, and I'm going to have Pam get up and say a few words, but there's really, she can talk as long as she wants because this is a very important decision. This is a decision that covers a tremendous amount of territory. But I want to just thank, again, the Supreme Court for this ruling. It's a giant. It's a giant. And they should be very proud, and our country should be very proud of the Supreme Court today. And with that, I'd like you to listen to the words of Pam Bondi. She's an incredible Attorney General. We're very proud of her. And as you know, Todd Blanche is with us, and we have so many others that worked on this case and other cases. And I think they're doing a great job. Pam, please say a few words.
Thank you, President Trump. Thank you for fighting for all Americans. Americans are finally getting what they voted for. No longer will we have rogue judges striking down President Trump's policies across the entire nation. No longer. Today, in the 6-3 opinion, Justice Barrett correctly holds that the district court lacks authority to enter nationwide or universal injunctions. These lawless injunctions gave relief to everyone in the world instead of the parties before the court. As the Supreme Court held today, they turned district courts into the imperial judiciary. Active liberal judges have used these injunctions to block virtually all of President Trump's policies. To put this in perspective, there are 94 federal judicial districts. 5 of those districts throughout this country held 35 of the nationwide injunctions. Think about that. 94 districts and 35 out of the 40 opinions with nationwide injunctions came from 5 liberal districts in this country. No longer. No longer. These injunctions have blocked our policies from tariffs to military readiness to immigration to foreign affairs, fraud, abuse, and many other issues. The judges have tried to seize the executive branch's power, and they cannot do that. No longer. No longer.
All right, that's Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, and she laid it out a lot better than I can right there, exactly what this is and exactly what this means. What an unbelievable week for Donald Trump. Mark, you've seen this before. Sometimes I just kind of get goosebumps, man. When I think back to that mission of those men and women from Whiteman that they carried out less than a week ago now, and everything that's happened subsequent, it's been a hell of a week, buddy.
Operation Midnight Hammer. I mean, what a name, too.
I'm so proud this week of everything that's been going on, and it is, these things shouldn't be this hard. This sounds very simple to me, that lower-level judges that are activists shouldn't be able to just rule with an injunction to stop the president from doing something. That seems so simple that nobody has that power in this democracy, and yet it's just been going on. And I'm impressed that the Supreme Court got this wrapped up this fast. I think their whole goal was, let's do this to Trump, and it'll take the Supreme Court a year or longer. We can stop him from doing a lot of things for a long period of time if we start doing this, because the Supreme Court never really acts that quickly. But we're less than 6 months into his presidency, right? We're right at about 6 months here, or not even. And they've got this ruling done, and that is a big win. You can always tell when it's something really serious and important to Trump, because he's like the somber Trump, like he's speaking at a funeral. He wasn't like high-fiving and smiling and laughing. He was very serious about this one, and I think the entire administration takes it very, very seriously. We'll finish with one more win here, Mark. A lot of folks for the 4th of July are going to be doing some traveling. We always do the price of gas and things around these summer holidays. We've got a 4-year low for gas prices in America.
All right.
Nationwide, $3.20 is the lowest it's been. It's way lower than that here. We're down to about
we get lower than the national average.
$2.90-ish, right around where I am. I think it's less than that in Missouri. Missouri's taxes are a little lower. Mm-hmm. They're probably down around $2.79, something like that, in Missouri right now. So we love that. And have you seen the video of the track hurdler, the 400-meter hurdler, Chris Robinson?
I have not.
He won his race. His junk flew out.
Oh, no.
While he was running.
Pulled the Chris Jones?
Tried to put it back in while he was running, and it never worked. Epic fail all the way across the finish line. Every time he went over the hurdle. Whoopsie. It's online if you want to go see it. Thanks for listening to Uncanceled. Have a great weekend, everybody. The Vince Show is up next.